The news spread slowly at first, like a shadow creeping across the stars. On a quiet trade world in the Epsilon Verge, a human girl had died. Her name was Aya Solon. She was only 12 years old, curious, bright, and full of questions about the universe she had barely begun to see. She died in an accident that should never have happened. An alien megacorporation had built a transit station without following safety rules. The platform collapsed and Aya was among the victims. To the company, it was just a statistical loss. To the Galactic Council, it was another small tragedy among countless others. But to humanity, it was something else entirely. Humans remembered their history. They remembered wars fought over single names, revolutions born because one innocent life was taken unfairly. Aya's death awakened something deep inside the species, a fire that others had long forgotten. When the Council tried to dismiss the case, calling it regrettable but not significant, humanity refused to accept it. They did not shout or curse. They did not threaten. They simply grew silent, and in that silence there was something more frightening than anger. In the chambers of Earth's High Assembly, leaders gathered. They spoke in low voices, carrying the weight of billions on their shoulders. "What will we do?" one asked. "They do not care," said another. "To them, Aya is one number out of trillions." "And to us," said the Speaker of Earth, "she is all of them." The room was quiet for a long time. Then someone spoke a single word: "Warships." Every head turned. Everyone knew what that word meant. Long ago, before humanity had joined the stars, before they had even achieved faster-than-light travel, Earth had built great war machines. They were called Warships, though they were not arcs of peace but arcs of survival. Each was the size of a city, armed in ways that frightened even their creators. They had been built in an age when humanity believed it might not survive its own wars. But the wars ended, and the Warships were never used. Instead of destroying them, humanity chose to keep them, not as weapons but as memories. They became floating museums, stored in hidden vaults in the solar system, silent and dark, holding the voices of ancestors who had once believed the future would burn. Other species thought the Warships were myths, stories humans told to make themselves seem more dangerous than they really were. The galaxy looked at humanity and saw dreamers, explorers, storytellers, not warriors. But the Warships were real, and for Aya Solon, humanity decided it was time for them to rise again. On Mars, engineers walked through the sealed docks where the great ships slept. Dust had gathered over centuries. The air smelled of rust and time. When the lights flickered on, the engineers saw them. Vast hulls stretching into darkness, their metal skins still strong, their names etched in ancient languages. One by one, the ships awakened. Reactors that had not burned in hundreds of years began to hum. Old systems coughed, then roared to life. The sound shook the ground and echoed through the vaults like the heartbeat of giants. Workers wept as they saw them move. The Warships were part of humanity's soul, symbols of what they had once feared and what they had overcome. Now they would carry a different message. The first Warship to launch was the Soul's memory. Its engines burned with a golden fire as it rose from Mars, shaking the thin atmosphere. People across the planet stopped what they were doing to watch. Some raised their hands in salute. Some whispered Aya's name. Then came the winter crown, the Titan's oath, the vigil of dawn. One by one, the ancient ships climbed into the sky, their shadows stretching across red deserts and white ice caps. From Earth, children pressed their faces against windows as the massive silhouettes passed overhead. Farmers stopped their work to watch. Teachers paused their lessons. Every human, no matter where they were, looked up that day. And they knew. Aya's name would not be forgotten. When the Warships left the solar system, the galaxy noticed. Entire civilizations turned their sensors toward the human fleet. For the first time in centuries, they saw the massive shadows of those ancient war machines crossing the stars. Messages filled the void. Council transmission. Humanity, explain this action. Human response, silence. Corporate broadcast. We regret the accident. Compensation will be paid. Human response, silence. Diplomatic inquiry. Why send warships for a single child? Human response. Because one child is enough. The silence was more powerful than any threat. It unsettled the galaxy. Civilizations that had dismissed humans as harmless now whispered nervously in their courts. Are they mad? asked one alien leader. No, answered another. They are human. Inside the Arc ship's crews worked quietly. These were not soldiers but volunteers, engineers, historians, scientists, and artists. They wore no weapons, carried no orders to fire. Their mission was not destruction but remembrance. Each Arc ship carried archives. Aya's drawings, her favorite songs, her school essays, her laughter recorded on a birthday. These were uploaded into the ship's central cores, woven into their systems, so that wherever the Arc ships went, Aya went with them. The crews spoke of her as if she were on board. When they woke in the morning, they said, "Good morning, Aya." When they finished their work, they whispered, "Good night, Aya." She had become more than one girl. She had become humanity itself. Weeks passed as the fleet crossed the stars. At every system they entered, life stopped. Alien ships pulled back. Merchants hid. Governments watched with growing unease. The Arc ships did nothing but travel. They did not attack. They did not demand. Their engines burned steady and bright like candles of memory moving through the dark. But everywhere they went, they left a message: we remember. In the council chambers, debate raged. "They are provoking war," said one alien ambassador. "No," said another. "They are teaching us." Teaching what? That a single human life can shake the stars. Finally, the Arc ships approached their destination, the world where Aya had died, the corporate capital of the mega-corporation that had ignored the safety codes. Billions watched as the ancient war machines emerged from hyperspace and took their places in orbit. They did not fire. They did not speak. They only waited. On the surface, panic spread. The corporation demanded protection from the council. The council hesitated, for even they were uncertain. Who would move against ships that old, that heavy with history? Perhaps their weapons no longer worked. Perhaps they did. But no one wanted to test them. The galaxy had learned something new about humans. They did not measure life in numbers. They measured it in meaning, and meaning could move fleets. Back on Earth, Aya's parents watched the transmissions. They saw the Arc ship standing silent in orbit above the world that had ignored their daughter's death. They saw humanity standing with them, not in anger but in memory. And for the first time since their loss, they felt less alone. The galaxy, too, felt something it had not felt in a long time: respect mixed with unease. The whispers began in every corner of the stars. The humans sent their ancient warships for one child. Then what would they send for 1,000? What would they send for a world? The answer was left unsaid, but the silence carried it well enough. The Arc ships hung in orbit like sleeping giants. Their massive forms blocked the sun, casting long shadows across the corporate homeworld below. Cities dimmed as the ancient war machines drifted silently above, their hulls etched with scars of time and history. They did not move. They did not speak. They simply existed, and that alone was enough to bring a world to its knees. On the surface, panic grew with every passing hour. The corporation that had once dismissed Aya's death as insignificant now found its stock collapsing, its leaders hiding in fortified towers, and its people whispering in fear. For the first time in centuries, the galaxy realized what silence could mean. The Arc ships had not fired a single shot. They had not issued a single demand. And yet, they were winning. In the Galactic Council chambers, representatives argued without end. "They cannot hold the orbit of a sovereign world," shouted one alien voice. "They have fired no weapons," answered another. "No treaties are broken." "But their intent," interrupted the speaker of Earth, who had appeared at last, "is remembrance." The chamber grew quiet. The humans did not often speak loudly in the council, but when they did, everyone listened. "We did not come here for war," the speaker continued. "We came here for Aya Solan. She was 12 years old. She laughed at the stars. She asked her parents why space smelled of metal. She drew pictures of planets she hoped to visit. She died because you allowed carelessness to outweigh life." The speaker's voice grew softer but sharper. "Every Arc ship carries her voice now. Every ship carries her drawings, her laughter, her questions. Wherever they go, Aya goes, and now the whole galaxy knows her name." Back aboard the Arc ships, the crews worked in silence. They were not soldiers, but volunteers who had sworn to keep Aya's memory alive. The ship's great screens projected her artwork into space, simple sketches of stars, suns and animals drawn by a child's hand. On the surface, people looked up and saw her drawings written across the night sky, bright, massive, impossible to ignore. Aya's crayon suns burned beside the real one. Aya's smiling faces drifted across the stars. The corporation had wanted her forgotten. Humanity had made her unforgettable. The alien leaders of the megacorporation begged for mercy. They offered money, reparations, apologies wrapped in official language. But the Orcships remained silent. Silence became heavier than words. Every day that passed, their presence felt like a judgment that could not be avoided. Finally, the council itself asked humanity, "What do you want?" The answer came not in threats but in requests. First, Aya Solan's name would be placed in the Galactic Archive, a memory bank older than many civilizations, where the greatest heroes, discoveries, and tragedies were stored forever. Aya would not be remembered as a victim, but as a turning point. Her entry would read, "Aya Solan, child of Earth, whose death reminded the galaxy that one life can carry the weight of stars." Second, humanity demanded the creation of a new code, the Sanctity Accord. It would bind every corporation, every council, every species to protect the lives of civilians, especially children, above all profit or power. No safety regulation could be ignored. No negligence could be excused. Life itself would be law. The council hesitated. Such a code would change everything. It would slow industries. It would reduce profits. But the Orcships hung above them, silent and unmoving. And the galaxy remembered that silence was heavier than war. The accord passed. For Aya, on the corporate homeworld, the leaders stepped down. They surrendered their positions, shamed before the galaxy. The corporation dissolved, its assets broken apart and redistributed. In its place, a memorial was built. Not of stone or metal, but of light. Every night, Aya's voice would be played in the skies above the city, her laughter, her questions, her songs. Children of 100 species would gather beneath the glowing sky to listen, and they would know her name. The Orcships did not remain forever. Their mission was not to conquer, but to remind. Slowly, one by one, they turned back toward Sol, their engines burning steady. The galaxy watched them leave, and many felt relief, but not comfort. For though the ships were gone, the memory remained. Every species now knew the truth. The humans sent their deadliest ships for one child. Imagine what they would do for a world. The phrase became a whisper, then a proverb, then a warning passed across the stars. On Earth, Aya's parents stood by the ocean, watching the waves roll in. They held each other's hands as the news reached them. Aya's name had been inscribed in the Galactic Archive. She would never be forgotten. Tears filled their eyes, but for the first time since her death, they were not tears of grief alone. They were tears of pride. Their daughter had changed the galaxy. A small voice recording played in their home that night. A file copied into the Orcships' cores. Aya laughing, asking her father, "Do you think stars can hear us if we sing to them?" Now, across the galaxy, the stars themselves carried her song. In time, the Orcships returned to their silent vaults in the solar system. They powered down, their lights dimming, their engines going cold once more. But they were not forgotten. The people of Earth still visited them. Children walked their echoing halls and touched their ancient walls. And always they found Aya's drawings etched into the panels, carved in light for all who came after. The ships slept again, waiting for the day when they might be needed. But the galaxy knew. If ever another Aya Solan were harmed, the giants would wake again. The galaxy had learned something new about humans, something deeper than strength or technology. They had learned that to humanity no life was small, no death was meaningless. And in the quiet corridors of distant worlds, alien parents now whispered to their children at night, "Be careful. Be kind, remember the humans. They sent warships for one girl,